welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a little bit since we've done a Crowfall update, but today we had the quote-unquote massive reveal by Artcraft Entertainment. They streamed that about, I believe it was 11 a.m. Central Time. I was at work, just extremely busy. I was hoping to catch the stream and the reveal live, but we have the next best thing, I guess, is their official Crowfall massive reveal trailers, I guess we'll call them. Part 1 and Part 2. I do have them kind of set, ready to go. This is kind of my first impressions, first time seeing this. Pretty stoked about this. Don't know what this massive reveal fully entails. I know they kind of published a bullet point list of things they were going to cover during the stream. I did not look at that. I kind of got a quick glance initially, and I just don't recall what they were going to talk about. I was planning to tune in for the live stream, so this is just kind of after the fact. But I've been extremely busy with my career the past few days, and then playing catch up with family stuff this past weekend. Compound that with just overall not feeling the best. I have seasonal allergies. I think my last video I did was a little rough, but I'm a little bit better now, health-wise, and things have kind of calmed down a little bit with work, so I have a little bit of time. Thought I'd cover Crowfall. This is kind of a stray from, you know, us typically playing Crowfall and me reviewing the current build, but I'm just super excited to see what they have going on here. So without further ado, let me go ahead and pause this music I kind of have in the background here, and we can go ahead and start this massive reveal. So I like I mentioned before, there's two parts. We're going to go through part 1 first, and then after part 1 we will kind of pause, kind of recap and talk about what's shown here. This is a 4 minutes and 12 seconds long, so let's go ahead and hop right in and see what this massive reveal is about. Hopefully the audio is okay and it's not too loud, but and classes.
This is an incredibly exciting announcement for us. At the very beginning of the project, we had one decision that we made really for cost reasons. That decision was to have character selection be driven by archetypes. Originally, the choice of who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do were locked. So if I wanted to be an assassin, I had to be a fae. If I wanted to be a frostweaver, I had to be a moon elf. Thanks in large part to you guys and our fundraising efforts, I'm glad to say that we've overcome that cost limitation, and we're announcing today for the first time that races and classes are now separate. Now, if I want to be an assassin, I can be a fae, or I can be a moon elf, or I can be a wood elf. If I want to be a ranger, I'm not limited to just wood elves. I can also be a minotaur, or I can be an elkin.
This change was now or never. If we'd done it later, people would have had to change characters that they were already attached to, and that was a non-starter.
So we started with only about a dozen of these archetypes. By splitting that into race and class, you have dozens and dozens and dozens of options that you can choose from. The cool thing about this race class shift is it's not just cosmetic. So let's say now I'm a centaur and I decide to play a knight. My passive previously was a right click that would cause me to kind of leap forward. Now, because I'm a knight, I can take my right click and I can make it either a shield block or a leap. So if I play a fae, I'm going to get wings. If I play a Ganetian, I'm going to be able to burrow regardless of what class I choose.
Now that we've made this choice, we're going to be able to add many more combos over time.
What?
And on top of that, we are announcing our first 100 disciplines today.
Disciplines can give you skills,
What
they can give
the
you
fuck?
abilities, they give you stats. They're
Okay, I had to pause it. I'm sorry, I had to pause it before I forget anything. So first impressions, they're basically getting rid of archetypes. I don't know if they're getting rid of archetypes, but essentially they're opening up the entire class races, and they're not race locking the classes like a lot of traditional stuff. So it's pretty cool. I know that Artcraft Entertainment employees, a lot of them play D&D, and they're huge into these kind of open-ended scenarios, and they're kind of, how do I word this? They just want to have as many options as possible, or give us as many options as possible, it seems. off the top of my head, first impression for that is initially I'm like, wow, that's fantastic, that's awesome. And now I'm kind of wondering if I really want that. And I don't know. I guess I'm trying not to overthink it. I guess I'll have it. I'll have to see it before I can make an accurate, form an accurate opinion of it. But my first impression is initially that's pretty cool. You know, that like they mentioned, this opens up dozens and dozens and dozens of combinations of races, class, and racial passives, things like that, which is really interesting and a lot more complicated now. But hey, I'm all for that. I guess more options is good for us users, right? I'm just trying not to think of it from a technical standpoint and how much more complication that they've created for themselves. But they're the development team, they're the professionals, so I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt that they know what they know what they're doing with their plans. But that's fascinating. That's awesome. And then they just talked about disciplines. They just released 100 disciplines. I know that the disciplines were in the skill tree and those are being reworked, but at the time I knew that they maybe were going to do like 3 per archetype, and they had just released 12 archetypes so far, I believe. So I mean, if I do my math real quick, we're talking about 30 to 40, 36 exactly if you're doing 3 at 12. But that's around 40, and now they're mentioning 100. So I would imagine there's either more archetypes, or they're just bumping it up to like 4 or 5 disciplines per archetype. That'll be interesting to see. I'm very, very curious. Let's continue with this.
They're pretty much like self-contained professions.
You can equip 1 weapon discipline, 2 major disciplines, and 3 minor disciplines.
A weapon mastery is pretty much what it sounds like. You master a type of weapon. You're going to see axes, pistols, shields, maces. Now, generally, these disciplines come with 2 to 3 powers, some active, some passive, some stats, and some things that make that weapon type pretty unique. Major disciplines are like subclasses. You're going to see things like Dryad, Runecaster, Banshee. These will also come with about 3 powers, but they're very specifically themed. Minor disciplines are like feats or talents. You're going to see things like Hand of Glory, which gives you a 3rd ring slot, or Sparring, which gives your left-click attacks an increased amount of damage. We're super excited to drop these first 100 disciplines, and this is just the beginning. You're going to see harvesting disciplines in the future, crafting disciplines in the future, and even more combat and very specialized exploration disciplines as the technology comes online.
The goal is to really give you as many combinations as possible, to let you decide not just who you want to be, but what you want to do in the Crowfall universe.
The combination I'm most excited about is definitely the Elkin Confessor, because it's a deer who shoots fireballs out of his hands.
Ganesha Knight. Little guy, big sword, big shield, taking all the damage. That's awesome.
Minotaur Ranger.
And why?
Because he's a cow with a giant bow.
Minotaur, champion, bull champ, tearing shit up.
I want to play a Ganetian cleric bard. That seems like the ultimate support.
The decision on how I want to put together my character,
That's
race
hilarious.
now makes a difference, class now makes a difference, my disciplines make a difference, everything makes a difference. Multiply all those together, and now we're talking about hundreds of thousands or even millions of unique combinations. And don't forget, all of this is on top of customization, right? I still get to choose my hair color, my skin color. The goal really is to give you guys the choice to play the character that you want to play.
That's awesome. That is so cool. That's awesome. Tell me why J. Todd Coleman looks like a World of Warcraft character right now. Tell me why he looks like he would be like a human wizard or something. Anyways, no, I wanted to pause that because they mentioned so many different things. Let's rewind that a little bit so that it was just so much to take in. I mean, so many things that they were talking about. They're talking about weapon disciplines, right? Weapon specialties. And then they were talking about like subclass disciplines. yeah, so weapon disciplines here, that's fantastic. That's absolutely awesome. That you can kind of choose to master a specific weapon. So this kind of gives you a little bit more ownership and a little bit more customizability with your characters, right? So, wow, that's fantastic, especially for people who love more combat-oriented gameplay. You can just choose to really min-max, the type of weapons you're using. Not only that, but with a subclass and with those other supplementary disciplines. Let's check those out. So
weapon. You're going to see axes, pistols, shields, maces.
That's so cool.
Now, generally, these disciplines come with 2 to 3 powers, some active, some passive.
So now you're getting active and passive powers that you equip to your bar based on your disciplines. Makes sense.
Some stats, and some things that make that weapon type pretty unique. Major disciplines are like subclasses. You're going to see things like Dryad.
Subclasses. Oh man, this is going to be so awesome. So awesome. I've been wanting to play like a high mobility support healer, just min-maxing, like an ode to the Holy Trinity, right? In original RPG days. But I love healing and supporting. So whether you're a highly mobile disabler or a highly mobile healer or AoE, regen, buffing your teammates, I'm all into that. So any time I'm getting more options, that's fantastic.
Runecaster.
Rune shield fortification.
Banshee.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
These will also come with about 3 powers, but they're very specifically themed. Minor disciplines are like feats or talents. You're going to see things like Hand of Glory, which gives you a 3rd ring slot, or Sparring, which gives your left-click attacks an increased amount of damage.
Okay, so this is kind of like mechanic modifications or alterations. Not mechanic, I guess, like unlocking various capabilities and enhancing your basic properties, right? So left swinging basic attacks are going to get modified, or your carrying capacity or your inventory slots are going to get modified. This is awesome. This goes kind of another layer of additional options to have if you're min-maxing. So let's go back to my healing example. If I want to play a healer, let's just say I want to use an extra ring. Like his specific example is extremely useful because I'm not going to give a shit about like my weapon damage. I leave that up to my teammates to deal the damage if I absolutely want to. What I really want to do is I want to heal. So I want to heal. So will a ring help me heal? Will a ring help me stay alive? Will a ring give me more mobility? Maybe. That would be fantastic. So I'm excited for that.
We're super excited to drop these first 100 disciplines, and this is just the beginning. You're going to see harvesting disciplines in the future, crafting disciplines in the future, and even more combat and very specialized exploration disciplines as the technology comes online.
The goal is to really give you as many combinations as possible, to let you decide not just...
Okay.
Guy, big
Heard all
sword.
this shit.
Because he's a
Tearing up.
I want to play a Ganetian cleric bard.
This guy knows what's up. Ganetian. I wouldn't go with the Ganetian though. I don't know. The whole burrowing thing, I guess that stealth is cool, but if you're supporting, I don't know. Blink over burrow for me, I guess.
The decision on how I want to put together my character, race now makes a difference, class now makes a difference, my disciplines make a difference, everything makes a difference. Multiply all those together, and now we're talking about hundreds of thousands or even millions of unique combinations. And don't forget, all of this is on top of customization, right? I still get to choose my hair color, my skin color. The goal really is to give you guys the choice to play the character that you want to play.
That's so cool. I'm so excited for that. That's so cool. Character customizations are gonna be awesome too. Not even just the aesthetics, right? Like their characters already look pretty good. Like their stock ones that they've kind of demoed, or that we've had access to in the pre-alpha up until this point have looked pretty good. I would say they're very good looking character models, and the character styles and just the silhouettes and the scale of the characters are awesome. So just adding on, you know, like I keep saying, adding on more layers of customizability, whether that's just aesthetic or whether that's functional, you know, playstyle customizability, the more options we have, I think the happier people will tend to be. You know, I'm more of a function over form type of person, but I'm not, you know, it would be a lie to say that I didn't care what my character looks like. If you're playing a character that you're constantly looking at, granted, most people in MMOs spend a shit ton of time making their characters pretty, and then all of a sudden they put on a helmet and really doesn't matter, right? So yeah, that's awesome. I think that's pretty much it for this one. So I have the second one kind of queued up already. Oh, let's go ahead and get started on this. This is part 2 of the massive reveal. Graphics overhaul. Interesting. Man, so we've got, they basically blew up the archetype mold, and now they're giving us basically racial and class freedom, right? And then they've introduced the disciplines, which are fantastic. Yeah, wow, that's awesome. And then like character customization, they should kind of showed off too. Cool. Wow. So right off the bat, I'm sorry to pause this, but for those of you who tuned in, it just looks like there's a ton more structures in here. Now, obviously, some of these are duplicates, things like these benches and stuff like this, and these materials, and the ground textures look fairly familiar. The buildings look fairly familiar with what they had implemented. So starting to see all this stuff come in, you know, into place is awesome. But off the top, this looks like, oops, this looks like they added lighting. So they added like dynamic lighting, which is awesome, because now the textures just don't look so flat. It kind of gives that much needed contrast. It's amazing to me, and if this is the first time you're seeing it, you're probably like, oh my god, okay, this looks pretty basic. Keep in mind, this is an MMO. Also keep in mind that I haven't seen like a polished product in a while, so I'm so used to seeing a lot of like flat shaded pre-alpha access testing functionality and stuff, and this is starting to look so cool. Oh, that's so cool. That fog was so cool. Just the environmental effects and the animations are still like decent, you know, not the best I've seen, but I know that they're working on that and they're constantly improving it, so it's awesome. Okay, so clearly here we have weather effects, fog, we have a rain. We didn't have these in the pre-alpha prior. A lot of these trees, like this is a new model, like the dead trees, but a lot of these other older trees and kind of vegetation have been there before. You know, the textures seem a little bit less vibrant and a little bit more natural color palette, but I think the environment and the weather effects kind of help set the mood pretty well. So I think that's really nice, and I know that they're improving their particle systems and yeah, the lighting on these buildings look fantastic, right? The shade, the shadows, the lighting, just the contrast of this, you know, fire from the skylight, and then you have your vegetation, and then you have your building structures. Just awesome. that whole camera panning and camera animation, along with all of these dynamic lighting effects and weather nodes like the fog effects coming up, and then you have particles and light emitters, and then you have just generally slightly more detailed textures on objects and structures. This is a pretty big jump in visual quality, so this is going to be awesome. I'm thoroughly excited to kind of test this out this upcoming weekend. Oh man, look at these little like orbs, color orbs, and then just the, between the rune picks and this material texture now looks so cool for that mineral node, or the ore node, I'm sorry. In the grass, I mean, just the grass and the flowers here. So awesome, so awesome. I'm so glad that their work is kind of showing. Interesting. This scene I'm not as impressed with. Maybe I just think it's so washed out. I don't know. It's, take it with a grain of salt, I guess, but everything's so white and black. Obviously this is some wood. The fire looks cool, and the campground and the flame, the catapults, or the trebuchets, I'm sorry. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this scene. I mean, granted, this is probably not fully complete, not a final product, but just compared to everything else, just this seasonal, this whole winter type of vibe that I'm getting kind of lacks some color. I feel like all the other seasons, regardless, you kind of got a more dynamic environment, and I'm hoping that this is just a small area, and maybe I'm just overlooking and being hypercritical, but first impressions, right? This is just my first impressions. I'm just like, oh, that was such a stark difference. You went from all this color, all this nice contrast, and now it's kind of washed out, low contrast area, other than these trebuchets launching these color fire orbs. The dynamic, the god rays coming through the clouds here, awesome. That looks cool. But like I said, just look at everything is, and if you have followed Crowfall, you know that like winter, they always joke around and say winter's coming, but that the winter cycle is supposed to be the most difficult and the most challenging. I just think that, like, as it kind of tears off to be more difficult, I kind of expected it to look a little bit more dynamic, I guess, but we'll see. So I like everything. So that was it. I still stick to my initial criticism of that feeling like the most washed out being the most difficult area. I get it, resources are depleted, blah 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 blah, it's gonna be the most difficult, and people are gonna argue like, oh, it's about the gameplay and this and that. Yeah, but you want to set the environment, you want it to be immersive. Everything up to that point I thought was absolutely fantastic, absolutely awesome. I'm not saying that the winter scene or that whole trebuchet sieging, castle sieging scene wasn't impressive. It was still very impressive, and I'll give credit to them to do, but I think it's not without criticism, but that's just my opinion. I feel like it's a little bit dull, it's a little bit washed out, that scene, and I'm hoping that the gameplay and the environment just isn't just snow white everything, you know, just not a giant blanket of white snow everywhere, you know. At least have some areas, dynamic areas, where we're able to see areas that don't necessarily have to be fully covered in snow, or there can still be color in the wintertime. I just think, I get it, it's snowing, cool, things are white, it's a lot whiter, it's a lot brighter, I get it, but a little splash of color could help, just saying. But yeah, wow, I don't know, that's a lot to take in. It is indeed a massive reveal. I love the graphics overhaul that they did. I absolutely love it. I'm stoked. But even more so than the graphics overhaul, the gameplay changes. You know, unlocking the archetypes, the races. You know, the class. Being able to customize your character now, but also being able to specify and get into specifics of disciplines. That just completely opened the floodgates. I'm in a guild now, and we're already talking about who's taking what roles, and how are you min-maxing, and what are you doing to min-max. And man, that just added like 10 times more complexity, this update, to our current structure and setup, right? I mean, guilds that are planning roles and, you know, how are you going to squeeze out this race or these passives to the maximum potential, now that kind of gets reshuffled, right? So you kind of have to go back and analyze. But that's what's so fascinating to me. I don't know, maybe I'm just nerding out too hard here, but I love that. I love what they showed. I love part 1 of this. I could watch it again. I apologize if I kept stopping it, and this isn't, you know, your cup of tea, watching somebody stop a video and talking about it. But hopefully that doesn't get too annoying. Obviously, you guys have access to it if you know, you want to check out the video nonstop. It's, you know, Crowfall. Just search up Crowfall and Massive Reveal, and you'll get it. Part 1 and part 2. You guys can watch that nonstop. I just wanted to give my honest first impressions, and I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to cover all the bases if I were to just typically sit here, run the video, and then give my recap impressions on the video. They touched based on so many things that I felt like I needed to stop and to talk about them as I'm getting them, as I'm digesting them. So I don't know. Lots to take in. I'm sure we'll see it as I log in and as I'm streaming content from the pre-alpha build. We'll see what makes it in. I know that they have this massive reveal. I don't know if they're just basically going to just patch in everything that they revealed, or if they're going to piecemeal it. Do you know what I mean? If we're going to get disciplines this week, and then we have to wait the following week for character customization, or we have to wait the following week for, you know, racial and class unlocking. How does that work? You know, where are you selecting that? How are you defining that? How are you getting your racial bonuses? Where do they have that defined? I don't know if we're getting that right away or not. So we'll see. As far as the graphics overhaul, to be honest with you, I'm not extremely concerned about that. I'm more concerned about the gameplay and figuring out, you know, what am I gonna do with the role that I want to play in Crowfall, and how am I gonna do that? As far as the graphics overhaul goes, you know, that's the cherry on top, right? So are they going to roll that in right away? Is that going to be effective immediately? Is that going to be slow rolled in? You know, I'm already starting to see in the Eternal Kingdoms, they're already starting to give you more buildings to test out and lay out. But that's just part of testing. I don't, you know, I'm not going to create a video because they gave me 3 new buildings to plop down. But this is definitely worth covering. It'll be fantastic once we get in, and hopefully this will generate some more content. I mean, I'm not complaining. This will give me more content to cover. So before I ramble on a little bit too much longer, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of stop this video. It's already a good length, 30 minutes long of my first impressions. But yeah, hope you guys are excited about it as I am. I'm thoroughly even more excited than I already was with Crowfall, but I'm just happy. I'm just happy progress is being made, and I'm happy that the progress is being made is something that I favor. Sounds kind of corny and selfish at the same time, but really, like, I agree with the changes that they make, or I agree with just about all the changes that they've made. So there hasn't been anything they revealed in this quote-unquote massive reveal for both parts that I have been opposed to, let's just say. I'm completely supportive of everything that they've kind of revealed, and I think it's heading in the right direction. But these are all just opinions. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, so obviously would like to hear back from you guys, or anybody out there with comments, questions, or concerns. Go ahead and drop that down in the comment section, and I'll try to get back to anybody with any questions to the best of my knowledge. So I really appreciate the support, guys, and I appreciate you guys checking out my content that I've been creating, and hopefully we'll have enough things to talk about that we'll have a steady stream, hopefully, of Crowfall content. But until then, if you guys are interested, I am trying out different just games just to kind of buy time. Nothing really sticking that I'm playing on the long term, so it's just kind of dabbling and trying out different things. Anything from Hearthstone to Magic the Gathering, online to I'm installing Tree of Savior, which is a kind of old school looking MMORPG that I've been waiting to try out for a long time. And of course Crowfall on the weekends, that takes priority. And then any other content coming down the pipeline. Anytime I have anything to design or any tech to review, I'll go ahead and try to create additional, or / we'll look at it as bonus content that'll fit into our channel, just to kind of get my feelers out there to see what people are really receptive to. So yeah, sorry for rambling on there, but I appreciate you guys swinging by, and hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow, same time I stream. If you check the description down below, you'll get a sense of my stream schedule if you want to join us for any other Crowfall or game or tech or design related content. All right, I appreciate it, guys. Have a good night. Peace out.